Hi, everyone. If you're joining us after that last session, welcome back. It's good to see you again. If not, my name is Hannah Nolan. I'm the Expedition Community Outreach Specialist. And in this session, we're going to answer your questions about my favorite outreach program that we offer at Schmidt Ocean Institute, which is our Ship to Shore program. The Ship to Shore program is an immersive virtual field trip where we will be able to take you all over the vessel through Zoom, show you mission control, the 8 lab spaces, the aft decks, and you can directly interact with our crew and scientists and ask all your questions about what's taking place on the ship and life at sea.
Thank you so much for that friendly welcome, Hannah. I'm really looking forward to asking you many questions that our participants have about the Ship to Shore program. For our participants, just a few reminders before we get started with questions. Please use the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen to ask questions, and we'll try to get through as many as possible in the next 30 minutes with Hannah. Closed captioning has been enabled, so you can turn it on or off at the bottom of your screen. And as you heard when you joined, this session is being recorded, and we will post the video to the SOI website within the next few weeks, so you can revisit any content that you missed or want to hear again. And you can also share with your colleagues and friends to share all the information that we are sharing with you. We'll give our participants a few minutes to start typing in their questions and start with a few questions that came in before the session, Hannah. First of all, you gave a great summary of the program. Can you tell us how we can sign up to participate in this Ship to Shore?
Yeah, so we currently have a web page that's under development, and I expect it'll be going online in the middle of May. So just in a few weeks. Once it's online, we will alert people through our social media, our newsletter, and the Deep Ocean Education Project, which we can talk a little bit about later. But yeah, so on that web's page, you will see a form for applying for our small group connections, and then there will also be information on signing up for virtual assemblies, which I think we can maybe talk about in another question.
Hannah, let's talk about it now. Tell us what a virtual assembly is.
Yeah, so a virtual assembly is our new strategy for trying to reach as many school groups, community groups as possible who might not be living in the region where the ship is operating. And so that will be set times and set dates that you can sign up. It'll be on Zoom. It will be a big Zoom meeting. You'll be able to register. Your classroom or your student, if you're a homeschool parent, you can register for a virtual assembly to have access to the ship that way. And that will have maybe a maximum of about 300 participants. It'll be our way of really reaching a larger, wider audience, because these connections are pretty time intensive and resource intensive for the ship. And we want to make sure as many people can connect with the ship as possible. And also as a part of that, we will have information on suggested grade levels and the topics that we will be covering in a virtual assembly.
Thanks, Hannah. That sounds really exciting. Can a group or a school sign up for more than one Ship to Shore?
Yeah, I would say that you are more than welcome to sign up for more than one virtual assembly because each expedition is different. I will say the Ship to Shore is usually pretty much the same tour. You will go to the same spaces, so it could get a little repetitive. In terms of signing up for more than one Ship to Shore for one expedition, we tend to not do that unless we feel that there is a learning opportunity for a group. So for example, when we were like a deeper learning opportunity for a group. So when we were in the Gulf of California on the interdisciplinary investigation of the Pescadero Basin expedition, we connected with the University of Baja California each week during that expedition, and they first received a ship tour, and then they received a seminar from a different scientist each week. So there are cases where we do connect with the same group throughout the expedition, but usually it's a regional group who we think the knowledge will truly benefit them and their learning experience.
Great. That sounds really good. You mentioned a little bit about being able to tour the vessel virtually during a ship to shore. Could you tell us what other experiences participants might engage in with the vessel?
Yeah, so I think the one really cool thing about our ship to shore program is it's a little bit different every time. Again, I wouldn't recommend repeating a ship tour just because you are going to see the same spaces and likely talk to the same scientists on one given expedition. But the really cool thing is that uh, we don't really know what's going to happen. It really depends on what operations are going on the ship at a given time. So, for example, our ship to shores on this past expedition to the Mid-Atlantic Ridge often were conveniently timed while the autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVs, were being launched. So people were able to so the students were able to see the AUVs go into the water during the ship to shore. We've also had and it really we cannot guarantee any one experience just because operations are happening throughout the day and we don't know exactly when they're going to happen. And the time that you sign up for is the time that you're given. And so if there's an AUV launching, then you get to see it. If the ROV is getting launched, you'll get to see that. If there's an ROV dive happening, you'll get to see some of the live stream. And talk with the scientists while they're making their observations in real time. It depends on what's going on the ship at any given moment.
There's always something going on. It's always different, but always exciting. So I think our ship to shore participants will not be disappointed in their experiences. Can ship to shores be conducted in languages besides English?
Yeah, so it is a big priority for us that we have people from the region where the ship is operating on each expedition. And so, for example, for the next couple of years, we will be in South America or in South American waters, and we will have a number of Spanish-speaking people on board. So for the next couple of years, we will be able to host ship to shores in English and Spanish. If there are scientists on board who speak languages beyond that and who want to connect with a group who speaks a different language and are able to conduct that, then we are more than able to facilitate that as well. We've also had examples in the past where nobody on the ship spoke the language. We did a connection with schools in Israel, and all of the students, none of the students really spoke English, they all spoke Hebrew. But we had a remote scientist. It was all set up with a scientist who's participating remotely, who's in Israel. And he did all of the translating for us. So we have had instances where we've had translators who someone will speak in English and then the translator will then translate to the group. And it's actually been a pretty effective approach and a rewarding experience for the students and fun to watch and participate in.
Great. I'm so glad to hear that we can enable and help participation from all around the globe, even if those scientists on board or our crew don't speak that language. We still want to be inclusive of everyone that wants to participate. What is the best way for instructors to prepare their students or their participants, whether they're museum or aquarium goers and not necessarily students, for a ship to shore? And then what's the best way to follow up after participation in a ship to shore?
Yeah, so every single expedition has its own webpage on the Schmidt Ocean Institute website where you can learn more details about the science going on. On that webpage, there's also usually links to the different videos that we produce on an expedition. So if you're joining partway through the cruise, by that point in time, there will be videos that you can watch with your group, showing what's kind of going on with the science. We also live stream all of our ROV dives. So if it's an ROV expedition, I highly recommend tuning into the ROV dives ahead of your ship to shore connection and kind of engaging with those with your group. And yeah, so there's definitely ways to prepare ahead of time. Afterwards, you can continue to follow along with the expedition and see what they learn, watch the videos, read the blogs, participate in the live streams. But another great resource that we at Schmidt Ocean Institute participate in is the Deep Ocean Education Project, which is a joint collaboration with the EV Nautilus, so Ocean Exploration Trust, and then NOAA Ocean Exploration, who operate the Okeanos Explorer. And so that is a best of website of all of our resources. So videos, photos, lesson plans, expedition notes. There's so many amazing resources on so many deep sea topics on the Deep Ocean Education Project. And we definitely recommend looking at those resources and utilizing them before and after to teach your students or your group about deep sea science.
Great, Hannah. Yeah, no shortage of ways to follow the expedition before and after you connect with the ship. Most of the ship to shore examples that we've talked about have focused on the science that's taking place, but we have someone that's wondering if a ship to shore could also focus on careers at sea or different jobs that they might see people doing on the vessel instead of particularly the science.
Yeah, that is a really wonderful question. And definitely, yes, it is a goal moving forward that we not just talk about the science, we also talk about the many different maritime careers that there are, because we cannot do science at sea without our amazing crew. I do think we have one of the best crews out there, and so we do love to highlight them when we can. And so the way that you can express interest in that, if you're applying to be for a small group connection, which I don't know if I've talked about this a whole lot, small group connections. If you watched the video ahead of this, the priority is for groups in the region where the ship is operating or groups that serve underrepresented students. So you can apply for a small group connection, and there will be kind of a checkbox in there saying I'm interested in learning about maritime careers, and we will customize that ship to shore for that topic. Alternatively, I think we will plan on hosting a couple of virtual assemblies per year on maritime careers, and you can sign up for those virtual assemblies.
That sounds great. How far in advance do you set these up or plan these ship to shores?
Yeah, I am setting up ship to shores every single day of the week. Just finished up setting up all our ship to shores for this current expedition. We have been keeping it sort of, we're not trying to do too many right now as we're learning the new ship and the new systems on board. And we do kind of only aim to do 2 to 3 per week because, as I kind of mentioned earlier, these are fairly time intensive and resource intensive for the ship. So the way to learn how, I guess the question is when or
how far in advance? So
yeah,
you just said like you're setting them up now for the expedition that is coming up next week. So about like a month or two in advance.
Yeah, I would say a month or two in advance. Earlier is also better. The big thing for the ship to shores is they need to be set up before the expedition departs. Once the expedition departs, we no longer set these up. And I'm hoping once that website is online, it'll definitely streamline this process a lot better, so that you know a couple months in advance that you're going to have this ship to shore connection.
Great. And are the ship to shore connections just for classrooms, or can museums, or we have someone commenting on an elderly community program, which I love. But could you talk about all of the different types of participants that we would like to see in ship to shore connections?
Yeah, it's not just for classrooms. We connect with museums, aquariums, community groups, and elderly community group is more than welcome to apply. We've worked with nonprofits. And so there's, so long as there is a group, we will consider them. I would say, again, for small group connections, priority goes to regional groups. And so a small group connection, we're looking at anywhere from 15 to 50 people. From there, we start moving into that virtual assembly program. And again, there will be sort of the given days and times, and you can just sign up for one if it works within your schedule. But I also understand that people have a lot of varying schedules, but if you have a large enough group, so 100 plus, then you can apply for a virtual assembly. Again, priority is given towards regional groups and larger groups. And then we have sort of our set like live events and then the virtual assemblies for folks who might not fit into those two spaces.
Excellent. And what type of age, going back to kind of the school age, what age or grades would you recommend are the best fit for Ship to Shores?
Yeah, I generally recommend that any ages below 10, so it might be a struggle for them. So we have in the past connected with, 6, 7-year-olds, but our scientists are not elementary school teachers. These are like being a scientist and being an elementary school teacher are two entirely different skill sets. And so the ability of our scientists to be able to sort of speak to a 6 or 7-year-old doesn't always match up. Sometimes we like get that scientist who knows what they're doing and knows how to talk to younger audiences, but that is not very commonplace. So I would say that usually ages 10 and up is where there's a little more understanding of what it is that the student is seeing on the screen. But again, it is a lot of beautiful imagery. It's really cool to see the ship. It's very immersive. So even if they don't really understand what's being said, it can still be a fun experience for those younger audiences. But again, if you want your students to kind of get a grasp of the science, I would say 10 and up.
Great. And what type of technology do the schools or community groups need to have access to participate in the Ship to Shore?
Yeah, so a projector and a screen or any sort of HDMI connection into a larger screen is usually a pretty useful thing to have. Speakers, a way for the students to ask their questions. One thing we found is that we can't usually, if we're using a laptop audio system, the student has to come up and then to the laptop to ask their question because we can't hear them at the back of the room. And then a good internet connection. And we do understand that not everyone has access to this. And so as a result, we have a microgrants program that you can apply for upgrading your technology to be able to participate in a Ship to Shore program. Again, this our priority goes towards community groups in the region where the ship is operating when it comes to applying for that microgrants program, and there will be more information on the webpage.
Great. So how can they apply for a microgrant if they need resources? Should they go to the Schmidt Ocean Institute webpage, or is there an email address they could submit a brief proposal to?
Yeah, they could submit a proposal to proposals@schmidtocean.org, or there will be, in that application, there will be sort of a little informational checkbox. But either one, proposals@schmidtocean.org, saying Ship to Shore microgrants in the header. And then I also anticipate there will be a way to let us know through the application process.
Great. Yes, definitely reach out if you need to take advantage of those resources that Schmidt Ocean Institute is able to make available to you. We have a question kind of going back to audience participation in these. Could a Ship to Shore be set up with the artist at sea for an art class?
Yes, 100%. We encourage our artists at sea to participate in the Ship to Shore program. They are obligated to conduct at least one during their expedition. So that is another sort of avenue that we can take the Ship to Shore program. It will depend on the artist. I think we have had artists in the past lead art classes from the ship itself, or it could just be an informational question and answer. If the artist is open to leading an art class, then we can definitely figure out how to make that work.
That sounds fun. I'm going to join. We had a question about Back Ashores, which are also on our YouTube page. Could you tell us the difference between a Back Ashore and a Ship to Shore?
Yeah. So Back Ashore is a program that Allison hosts, because she is such a lovely host. And I run in the back end. Back Ashore is something we found is that the expeditions are just the start of the science, right? That is when the scientists are collecting their samples and their data, and they have not made any scientific conclusions yet. Science takes time. It takes a couple of years minimum to make discoveries from the data that you.
I think Hannah froze, so while we wait and just 1 minute to see if she returns, I can finish talking about the Back Ashore, which is hosted on our YouTube site. And that is to help scientists share their outcomes from their past expeditions on board research vessel Falkor. So as Hannah was just starting to mention, science and analysis takes time. Once the scientists walk off the vessel with their data set, they take some time to analyze the data and truly come to some results and some outcomes. They don't always walk off the ship. And so we take some time to learn what they are doing and what they have possibly discovered from their expedition years later. And then the ship to shore program is more live, learning what's taking place on the vessel now. Welcome back, Hannah. Are you there?
I think I'm back.
All right.
I live in Oregon, and so when the sun comes out and the rain goes away, sometimes my internet has to readjust and learn what sun is.
Well, I'm glad that you're getting a little bit of sunshine. So I think when you pop back in, I was explaining what the Back Ashore was that we host on YouTube, revisiting the scientists' work that's taken place since they've come off the vessel. And a ship to shore is obviously more live and learning what's taking place on the vessel now. Just to go back to the current ship to shore program, we had a question. You mentioned that priority is given to some of the larger groups that are in the areas that we are working in. How local do those areas need to be, or how close to the area do they need to be where Falkor 2 is operating in? And if they aren't in that area, can they still apply and hope that we have a spot for them and maybe just not receive priority, or should they not apply?
You can always apply, and if we can make it work, we will make it work for your group. Again, keeping in mind, there will be kind of sort of a description of who is eligible for these smaller group connections. When we mean a group from the region, we typically mean the country off of which the ship is operating. So our next expedition is off of Puerto Rico. So priority is given to Puerto Rican countries, Puerto Rican countries, towards community groups in Puerto Rico. It is the end of my day. And the next one is in Costa Rica. So groups in Costa Rica are given priority. But also when we say region, we do mean next couple of years will be South American groups.
Great, and we're looking forward to connecting to many groups in those regions, but you should certainly apply if you're interested in connecting with the ship but don't live in that region.
Yes.
Hannah, we're just about out of time, so I was hoping you could maybe re-emphasize the key points of how to apply and be considered for a ship to shore event with their school or community group. If you could just remind us how to apply, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, so we are working on a web page, which will be going up very soon. That will have a Google form where you can sort of, with an application, and you can submit that application to participate in a ship to shore. It will walk you through sort of all of the requirements to participate in a small group connection. And then from there, virtual assemblies, we will put up a schedule later this summer for the next school year, for the 2023 through 2024 school year, with descriptions of the topic and the suggested grade level. I will say it will only be through the end of 2023 because we are currently receiving our expressions of interest and working on setting up our 2024 calendar. So once the 2024 calendar is set, we will also put up that virtual assembly calendar, and that you don't have to apply, you just need to register.
Awesome. We're certainly looking forward to having everybody on board during a ship to shore virtually so that they can learn more about the vessel, and I hope they'll join us. Hannah, thank you so much for taking time to answer everyone's questions today. This is our last session of the virtual symposium. So I want to thank all of our SOI staff members that answered questions over the past 2 days, Jodica Fermani, Eric King, Leonard Pace, and Hannah Nolan. And also thank you again to Lisa Pereira for putting all of the wonderful information in chat. And we look forward to seeing you on board Falkor 2 as an artist, as a scientist, as a technologist. And we also look forward to seeing you virtually on a ship to shore. Thank you so much. And Hannah, I'll let you have the final word about the ship to shore program.
Thanks, Allison. Yeah, just looking forward to seeing you in a ship to shore program, hopefully soon, and showing you around. And thanks to everyone for attending our 2023 virtual symposium.